Let's go make a killing.
All right.
Welcome to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
10 to the 5 to the 4, play one, touchdown!
The sharpest football contest show in the land.
I'll take the action. My Birds, Benjamin Franklin's team, favored by 1.5 points. I'll give you 3 more.
You're now riding shotgun with 2 former contest winners in Brady Cannon and James Salinas. And getting a former player's perspective with 9-year NFL veteran Mike Pritchard.
Let's go!
As they guide you through strategy, process, and your contest picks each and every week of the season.
I do like the idea of a parlay.
Now here's your host, Brady Cannon.
Welcome in, everybody, and welcome back. It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by our friends at Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. Week 8 in the NFL is upon us. I am Brady Cannon, along with James Salinas. Mike Pritchard is on vacation this week, and we are lucky enough to be joined by a fill-in co-host, Miss Kelly Stewart. You know her on social media as Kelly in Vegas. Great to have you on the program here today, Kelly. It's a super contest party. James, of course, a champion in 2015. I won it in 2011, and you also collected a cool 15 grand winning the mini contest, the final 3 weeks of the super contest in 2013. And my friend, I consider you a pioneer woman, the OG, the first girl to jump into this sports betting space many, many years ago. All the ladies that have come along in the last 15 plus years, they owe you a great deal of thanks for paving the way, something certainly to be proud of. And we are honored to have you on the show today. And oh, by the way, Miss Stewart, ladies and gentlemen, is still alive in Circa Survivor. Let's get into it, folks. Last week in the Westgate Super Contest, the consensus went 2-3, and they are now overall 14, 20, and 1. The consensus in Circa Sports Million went 2-3 as well. Almost an identical record. They are 14 and 21. If all you're doing is waking up on Sunday morning and fading the consensus, you're hitting nearly 60%. Circa Survivor, a couple weeks in a row of very little carnage, down to 214 entries. The favorites have come through the last couple of weeks. The inherent value of that ticket that you bought over the summer for $1,000 is now worth almost 67 grand. Mr. Salinas, as I always do, I will start with you. Let's look at the top of the board. Where are we headed with the games this week?
Well, I'll start right at the top of the contest rotation. And first one on the board, Titans and Lions. And thinking about where we're at with the Titans, I think, Brady, we talked about this a few weeks back, actually, week 3 into the season, I think, where you wanted to go with the Titans. And to me, Will Levis, he was dead to me. Well, I can add some more quarterbacks to that list as well. Mason Rudolph, he's dead to me too. This quarterback list of folks that I just are not playable anymore is getting longer and longer. So there's, even though this number is really big, it's 11.5 in the Circa Millions and 11 as far as getting as the underdog Titans here in the Super Contest. Big numbers. Usually that's on the side that I'm at, but I can't play the Titans any longer. But on the other side here with the Lions, I just don't like the scheduling spot. This is the ultimate sandwich spot between divisional road games for the Lions. Huge win on the road against the Minnesota Vikings last week. Well, a big game next week on the road against the Green Bay Packers. So for me, this one's a stay away. I've skipped that game. I didn't really put a whole lot of time or energy into handicapping that one because I've moved on. But one that I did, and forgive me for putting this out there, but I think from the perspective of getting the number in the home dog, divisional dog, I like the Browns here. They're +9 in both, 8.5 in one contest and 9 in the other. I like the number for both sides here. Thinking about where we're at with the Browns, and I know I've talked about this for actually years. Talk about a quarterback that was dead to me to play, that was unplayable, was Deshaun Watson. Well, he is finally, unfortunately, due to injury, he is no longer going to be on this roster going forward in this season for the Cleveland Browns. And we're going to see Jameis Winston. Now, not that he's at the top of my list to go on as far as playable quarterbacks for me here, Kelly, but thinking about the spot here for the Browns, maybe there's a rejuvenated locker room feeling like finally we actually are going to get away from management's quarterback here because of the contract that they're committed to with Deshaun Watson, getting Jameis Winston in there to play quarterback, actually be able to make some plays and stay within this game here. This is a big number, I feel like, for the Browns at home, Kelly. And so I'm liking and really liking the numbers, both 8.5 and 9, as far as the home dog is.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with you there, James. It's Browns or pass. And now this is somebody who was holding a Bucks ticket in person on Monday night. And it took a little bit for the Ravens to get going, but they benefited from 2 turnovers. So that final score was a little bit misleading, at least for the first 3 quarters. And then they let up their foot off the gas because they knew they were playing the Browns this week. I do lean towards the Browns. I don't know if they will get my hard-earned money here. And I'm going to skip past the next game because I don't really want much to do with the Jacksonville Jaguars, even though it would be them or pass. I'm going to Indianapolis here in the contest. This actually is my best bet. I gave out on every single show this week. So if you've already heard this, I apologize. But earlier in the week, I said, doesn't matter to me whether it's Joe Flacco or Anthony Richardson. And some people might disagree. Look, the difference is that I can get Anthony Richardson on the ground. And when he can't throw the ball, he will be able to run it. 56 yards last week, 14 attempts. And while they had just a really ugly win over the Dolphins, I think that win is going to catapult them into this week versus a divisional rival in the Houston Texans. And last year, CJ Stroud, we know exactly what he did. He was thriving, especially in the underdog role. He has no interceptions on the season, 262 passes. Why on earth would I want to step in front of this team? Well, something to really consider here is the 5.5 is down from the sharp number of 6. It's 5 in the contest. I think 5 is one of the sharpest numbers in the NFL. And that is because it's very telling, especially in the division where we will see these underdogs actually win these games outright. So looking for a team going back home after back-to-back road games, just 1-5 against the spread as divisional home favorites. Gives me the extra nod to say this is too many points for a Colts team that I have a little bit more faith in than the market does.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kelly. You know, you look at this game, they played opening week of this season. The Colts hosted the Houston Texans, and I was personally on the Colts that week. I took 3 in betting. We took 2.5 in the contest. The Colts only lost by 2. So, you know, if you now flip home field advantage over to the Texans, give them a 1.5, then this line should be 3.5, right? If they won by 2 points earlier, the line should be 3.5. I see what you're talking about. It opened 6. It's now down to 5. In the live market, it's even down as low as 4.5. I wouldn't be surprised if we get any lower here. I think the Texans have been a little bit of it. I mean, even though their record doesn't say so, they've been a little bit disappointing. They're regressing a little. I mean, they won 3 games. They won 3 games. They won 4 games. Then all of a sudden, they went to the top of the division and they went from worst to first. Teams that do that typically come back to the pack a little bit. And I think we're seeing that slightly, not necessarily, again, like I say with the record, but we aren't necessarily seeing the Texans be overpowering. And I think the Colts can hang with them there. I think the Colts are probably a little bit better than we expected this year. And I think the Texans are maybe a little bit lesser than we expected to begin this season. James, you talk about the Lions and the Titans. Yeah, I mean, the Titans are a team, it's like I want to play them every week because it feels like they're getting too many points. And all they do is tease us. In week 1, it looked like it was a home run against the Chicago Bears. What do? They find a way to mess that up. Last week, we're on them against the Buffalo Bills. A great spot going against Buffalo there. They're out to a 10-0 lead. They find a way to blow that in the second half. I'm done with this team. You were done with Will Levis a lot earlier than I was. And now they're selling off pieces. You know, they get rid of DeAndre Hopkins. So, yeah, and you're exactly right. I don't want the other side either because it's an awful spot for the Lions with that look-ahead spot to the Green Bay Packers next week. But if I had to play this game, I would probably be on the Titans, but I just can't. I've been burned too many times by this team. So a couple of good games to start with there. The Jaguars and the Packers, I think, is another very interesting contest that we can talk about a little bit more on the other side. Of course, the Packers are on the other side of that scheduling spot that the Lions are. The Packers will return home and quite the spot for them as well. They take on the Texans, squeak by with a win last week, now go out to Jacksonville as a road favorite, and then back home for a big one with the Detroit Lions. I think it's tough on both the Packers and the Detroit Lions in what is probably the best division in all of football, the NFC North. So more on the other side. It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Kelly in Vegas joining us, filling in for Mike Pritchard this week. We'll be right back with more in just a moment.
Steiner's, a Nevada-style pub, invites you to play the best keno and video poker in Las Vegas. Promos are how we roll, so make the most of your gaming dollars with ongoing promotions, daily free play, bonuses, and more. With a chance to win Knights, Raiders, Aviators tickets, and big money with all those jackpots. It's not only great gaming at Steiner's, it's the 24 awesome rotating draft beers and the best appetizers to match. Steiner's, the Nevada-style pub, with 3 locations across the Vegas Valley. Steiner's, I love this place.
Welcome back into the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. Brady Cannon, Kelly Stewart, and James Salinas with you, breaking down the card from an against the spread perspective. Week 8 in the NFL. We teased it on the other side, talking about the Jaguars and the Packers, a very interesting scheduling spot, not only for the Detroit Lions, but also the Green Bay Packers, who will host Detroit in Week 9. James, we definitely had our eyes on this one in our pre-show discussion.
Well, and eyes again, I think clouding our judgment, at least for me. I think over the years, October has been my most challenging month as far as contest handicap. And I think we see underdogs in the first month come in September, plenty of enthusiasm and optimism coming into the season, and they come out and they play hard and they get after it. And then I think slowly the reality of that they're not a very good football team starts to creep in for a lot of these teams. And sometimes I just tend to hang on a little too long in October and then kind of cast those aside and revisit my handicapping approach come November. And usually the second half of the season is when I'm strongest within these contests. So I can't wait for November to get around here, sports fans, because one more week and we can get there. But I think I'm still hanging on to a team like the Jaguars. And it's probably not really a hanging on to a team like the Jaguars. It's more so looking at the number and then the scheduling spot here and thinking about where the Packers are. This is usually where, when you have a big game on deck next week, which the Packers do, it's a massive game at the top of the NFC North standings. You were talking about it earlier, Brady, thinking that that's the best division in football. I think hands down, that's the most competitive division within the NFL. With the Packers being a favorite here and beyond 3, we're talking -4 here, getting 4 on the Jaguars side. That's really where I'm looking at. It's situational for me. The spot, the scheduling spot, the home team here with the Jaguars, getting the number. Don't love the Jaguars, and I don't think Trevor Lawrence, he hasn't made my list of unbettable quarterbacks at this point. He's getting closer, but he actually performed pretty well last week against the Patriots. So I can still move forward at least one more spot here with the Jaguars. And the other spot here was with the hanging out in the state of Florida with the Dolphins. Dolphins laying 3.5 in the contest. And now I see a lot of 4s in the live market here on Friday afternoon as we're having this conversation. But looking on the other side, usually this would be a spot I'd love the Dolphins, and I'd want to bet them here with the Cardinals. It's their 3rd game in 4 weeks, a short week, albeit, for the Cardinals, coming off a big Monday Night Football win, but they're really beat up. They got down 2 corners. They're down many guys in the middle of the defense to stop the run. I think that's going to be the concern for me here with the Dolphins. Not so much Tua coming back, Kelly. We know for Tua, hopefully he can stay healthy, keep his head right, and not get hit again. It might be the end of his career if he gets hit again. Don't want to see that for any player. But I think more so the rushing game for the Dolphins going against this suspect Cardinals defense. 3rd game in 4 weeks. 4 weeks, like I said, coming off a short week on Monday Night Football. I'd lean towards the Dolphins in this spot, but with Tua and never knowing how long he can perform and what it's going to look like for him coming back, not only coming back from a rust standpoint, but also where's his mind right now? I'm sure he's had plenty of conversations with his family during his time off to say, do you really is this really best for your health coming back in this spot? It's just not a team that I want to play, not a quarterback that I want to touch in this spot here.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I mean, which Tua are we even going to see coming out of this concussion protocol? Looking at some of his stats, 338 yards in week 1. And then, oh, by the way, week 2, he threw 3 picks. I don't know which quarterback we're going to see. You mentioned quarterbacks you can't trust. It's not that I can't trust Tua. I just don't know how healthy he is. But hey, somebody trusts Tua. I'll tell you this. My good friend John Murray, the director over there at the Westgate Superbook, said that a sharp group played the Dolphins. They laid it earlier in the week. And I thought, oh boy, someone is braver than I am. Speaking of brave, I'm going to introduce the game. We're going to skip past a couple because I don't have a big opinion on a few of these. But man, starting through this week, I've really started to talk myself into taking the New England Patriots. Now, I'm not.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm not saying with my hard-earned money. I'm saying in the contest. Remember, guys, like I play 1 or 2 NFL games a week. James is talking about October. Oh, by the way, in the contest, I'm 1-4 the last 2 weeks. I had to go back and look on the SuperContest website. I am appalled with that. But October has not been nice to me either, James. So you're in good or really bad company if you want to look at it that way. I'll say this. I don't know if I trust Drake May yet, or even the New England Patriots for that part. But what I can tell you is I do not trust Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets, losers of 4 straight games. By the way, 3 of those within 6 points. Now, coming off a big TV game, going to play New England, who, well, we saw what happened in week 3. New England, 139 yards. I think the whole world is going to want to back the Jets here. And while this is stinky, and sometimes the Jets can surprise you, I think New England getting almost a touchdown here at home in this contest is going to make my card.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kelly. You know, I have a bad habit of continuing to bet the Tennessee Titans, and I'm back to the well with the New England Patriots here. You're right. They're getting in the contest. They're getting the full 7. You know, division dog at home getting a full 7 over the course of history in the NFL. That's a pretty good situation to back that underdog. Talk about history. We know the New England Patriots have absolutely owned the New York Jets. And I know that was primarily with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. But you know what? Head coach Gerard Mayo was a big part of that dominance over the New York Jets as well. And I think Drake May is getting better and better. I don't think the kid's that bad. He looks pretty good. He doesn't have a whole lot to work with. We know that. But the Jets, man, you know, you and I talked about this, Kelly. I have loved watching Aaron Rodgers at his prime. I thought he was so great to watch throw a beautiful football. It ain't coming back. I'm convinced that I just don't think it's going to happen anymore. Devontae Adams, you know, he makes a speech. Is that all of a sudden going to turn around a bad offensive line, a defense that I think is getting fatigued because the offense can't seem to stay on the field? So, yeah, going back to the well with the New England Patriots and James, you know, it's hard. This is, again, we talk a lot about, you know, ugly dogs, hold your nose. Do you really want to back the Jacksonville Jaguars? We went against them last week and they proved us wrong. But I think that scheduling spot.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
That's the scheduling spot. You think about where the Jets are. It's their 3rd road game in 4 weeks, including a trip to London. They've had 4, and of those 4 games, 4 very physical defenses that they've had to face. Coming off Denver. Denver absolutely kicked their ass in New York that rainy day defensively, got after it, dominated that front. I think with the Denver defense, followed by Minnesota, Buffalo, and then Pittsburgh, we see teams that come off of these physical games. What do they have the next week? It looked like you saw that the Jets completely wore down in that second half on Sunday night in that loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. 4 straight games against those defenses and very physical run games. I think here, I love the Patriots in this spot. Don't love the team, but love the number at home, but more so a bet against the Jets.
Well, we bet against the Jets last week in the contest. We took the Steelers, and that was a winner. We're going to go back to the well against the Jets and on the Patriots. More breakdowns on the other side. Stick around as the Las Vegas Football Contest show continues.
Want to enter the biggest and best football contests in Las Vegas, but don't know where to start? Look no further than footballcontest.com to get the info you need to succeed in the biggest football contests in the world. Circa Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate SuperContest. Reserve the most trusted proxy service in the business now at footballcontest.com. Maddie and Tony have been leaders in the industry for 15 years. They submit your picks while you focus on picking winners. Experience matters. Go with the pros at footballcontest.com and start winning now.
Welcome back into the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Thank you for tuning in. You can follow us on all the social channels, FB Contest Show on Twitter. Check us out online at footballcontestshow.com. That's where you get all the podcast information, where it airs, where you can catch us each and every Friday evening. All right, more games to break down here. And I want to start in the Pacific Northwest. The Seattle Seahawks come off of a big win in Atlanta. They return home to host the Buffalo Bills. And Kelly, this one caught our eye, and maybe another ugly dog we're considering here.
Yeah, listen, I've never met an ugly dog that I didn't like, and I think that's part of my issues. But
We're all
talk to my
dog lovers
about that instead of your audience. No, all jokes aside, this was one that was on my long list early, and I'm kind of in that. I've got 3 games solidified. I've got two more, right? And I mentioned not wanting to put my hard-earned money on all of these games, especially kind of going through this cold streak, right? Back-to-back 1-4 weeks. You got to power through. You kind of got to zig when others zag. And this is definitely a zig because the whole world's going to want to be on Buffalo. But I don't understand why. One of the reasons why I bet a bit against the Bucks last week, or bet on the Bucks last week against Baltimore, was because it was a non-conference road game and not important to them prior to them playing in Cleveland. And the same thing goes for the Bills here. Not only that, but they lead Miami by 2.5 games, the Jets by 3, and at least 27 over New England. No, just kidding. But we know how bad New England is. So we're not worried, well, at least for the Bills, worried about them in the division. Kind of looking at Miami on deck, right? We just broke down that game. Is Tua going to be healthy? We know a sharp group played them. I understand Miami is always a tough place to play, but this isn't September. It's not going to be 100 degrees on the visitor's sideline. And I don't think that this is some tight race in the AFC East. I mean, the Bills are on cruise control. So from a situational standpoint where I'd normally like to say, all right, I'd like to take Seattle, I'm kind of taking a step back. And that's because of the injuries to DK Metcalf and a few other guys listed on the injury report. So make sure you guys check that on Friday evening. I will say this is going to be a tough environment. It's always loud, no matter how good the Seahawks are. Let's see what Josh Allen's made of. But man, does it seem super contrarian to want to take the Seahawks +3 in the contest?
At this point, Kelly, I think we got to be a little contrarian, and I'm on that side. I like the Seahawks in this spot. And again, it's a scheduling spot that we're talking about here. And thinking about where the Bills have been when they're able to power through their rushing game, that's the bread and butter for this team. But I just wonder here from a defensive perspective for the Bills, are they going to be a little worn down? Thinking about where they are right now on the schedule, Kelly, you mentioned next week, big divisional game, basically an opportunity to really put a stranglehold on the AFC East for the Bills to host the Miami Dolphins next week up in Buffalo. But right now, this game in Seattle, traveling across country, this is going to be the 4th road game in the last 5 weeks for the Buffalo Bills. I think fatigue starts to set in here, especially in the latter part, second half of this game. I think this is where the Seahawks can get the rushing game going, especially with Kenneth Walker. He's fully healthy now. He's a terrific runner and runs downhill and runs with power and a lot of leverage. So that's where I really like the Seahawks from a scheduling standpoint. And I think the Bills just kind of wear down. It's not a huge game for them. So I like the Seahawks. I'll still be advocating for it. Take the 3 as the home dog. Another big game that's on deck, non-conference game, but really interesting game, Brady, is the Bengals laying 2.5. It's a 2.5 in both contests, hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. We've seen a resurgence for the Eagles rushing the football. They've rushed the ball 81 times the last 2 weeks. I think they're taking the ball out of the hands of Jalen Hurts to throw it and get back to Saquon Barkley. What a pickup he's been. Good for Saquon to go back into New York and just punish the Giants last week. I was happy to see him go and run them over and really establish himself as the big player that got away from the Giants. But here, this is a tough matchup. The Bengals have not been good against the run. The Eagles are definitely dedicated to the run with Saquon Barkley. I couldn't get there on a side, Brady. What do you say with this game?
Tell you what, James, I think it's very interesting how these two teams have played the same opponent the last couple of weeks. You have the Cincinnati Bengals, who handled the Cleveland Browns last week. They got a big assist by that kickoff return early in the game, and they didn't really do a whole lot else the rest of the game, but they didn't need to. Deshaun Watson, of course, tears his Achilles. You got DTR in there. Then it was eventually Jameis Winston. It was really just, quarterback by committee after all these injuries for the Cleveland Browns, and Cincinnati was in control the whole time. They didn't really put the New York Giants away either. That late touchdown they had by Chase Brown, I think that was given to them by the Giants, who were trying to come back late in that game. You have Philadelphia, who crushes the Giants and lets the Browns hang around. So I think as far as common opponents, it's hard to figure out who might have an edge in this game. I feel like the Eagles are the better team here, but do I really want to go against the Cincinnati Bengals at home? The defense is getting better, it seems, every week. It's under a field goal. I think at the end of the day, James, this is going to be a stay-away game for me. I think the general public, the masses, will be on Philadelphia, and that has me more wanting to stay away from the Greenbirds this week. It's Circa Survivor talk coming up next, and we know who is still live in that big $14 million contest when we return right here on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
San Diego is home to Wolfpack Hospitality Restaurants, located in beautiful La Jolla. Stop by Cove House, Shore Rider, and Dough Mama Pizzeria on your next trip. Visit Cove House, a top 100 brunch in California, or Shore Rider, serving up margaritas, fish tacos, and a vibe that will make you feel like a regular in no time. For a slice of New York-style pizza with a California twist, it's Dough Mama Pizzeria, where the wings and pizza draw compliments from around the world. Go to wolfpackhospitality.com, and we will look forward to seeing you at Cove House, Shore Rider, and Dough Mama Pizzeria.
Want to gamble like the pros? At LasVegasAdvisor.com, you'll find the world's best how-to books, software, and strategy cards featuring blackjack, poker, video poker, and of course, sports betting, including the Stanford Wong Classic Sharp Sports Betting. Don't forget LVA's Member Rewards coupon book, offering discounts on dining and entertainment, including a buy one, get one for the awesome lobster buffet at the Palms, and more than $700 in gambling-free play, match play, and bonus offers. Up your gambling game today at LasVegasAdvisor.com.
Welcome back to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, presented by none other than Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook, the biggest football contest on the planet. And the biggest one is probably $14.2 million Circa Survivor. Lucky enough to have Kelly in Vegas, Kelly Stewart along with us, partnered with John Murray. They do still have a live entry in Circa Survivor. First of all, congratulations. Don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Congratulations, maybe another 7 weeks from now, Kelly. But we're obviously going to throw this one to you. Where are you going this week? Well, there's some big spreads out here this week. What is it going to be for you and your team in Circa Survivor this week?
So when my buddy Chris and I partnered up with John Murray and his buddy Joff, it was week 4. I said, we're going double San Fran, you guys. Had we not partnered up, that's where we're going. Then we pivoted week 5. We went Kansas City. Then we joined everybody else, took Philadelphia. Last week we were on Buffalo. I lobbied really hard for the Commanders. I did not get my wish. This week, we got a couple of guys lobbying really hard for the Detroit Lions. I'm one of those guys. I know that we're supposed to keep the Lions for Thanksgiving. Unfortunately, I have a little bit of bad taste in my mouth from last Thanksgiving, where the Lions lost at home in a horrific fashion to the Green Bay Packers. Then we've got the Denver Broncos, now up to basically the same spread. They opened 9, they're up to 11. Now that Bryce Young's going to be the starter. We'll get into that game here in a minute. And then the Chargers playing the Saints, right? A lot of people are looking to bet against, at least in Survivor, play against the Titans. They're looking to play against the Panthers, the Pats, the Giants. And that means Pittsburgh on Monday night's also on our list. I've all but wiped that one out and said, let's not try to go Pittsburgh, especially when we have these very large spreads at our disposal. So right now we're tied. 2 people want Broncos, 2 people want Lions. James touched on that Lions scheduling spot. How much do the Lions care about either Will Levis or Mason Rudolph? And that is the $1 million question here. Maybe it is kind of productive to keep this Lions team, right? We're looking way, way, way ahead, but maybe week 18 at home to the Vikings, that'd be a really nice team to have in pocket all the way towards the end. It gets really dicey, guys. It's really tough. You don't want to overthink this. And that's probably why I'm going to concede and ultimately take my Denver Broncos. And I say mine because I grew up as a longstanding, suffering. But we did win some Super Bowls, right? Like we won some Super Bowls when I was in middle school and early high school. And then we won, a Super Bowl with a guy named Peyton Manning. So as angry as I am and disgruntled about all of the quarterbacks that are in between, I've got to give the other Peyton, Sean Payton, the new head coach of the Denver Broncos last year and a half, a little bit of credit. And I do think he has his defense playing very, very well. Team started off 0-2, 5-2 since, about to go over their season win total. But ultimately, this isn't about Bo Nix. This isn't about the Denver defense. This is against a Carolina offense who put up less than 58 yards per game. Come on, they're 1-6 against the spread this season. Why on earth am I overthinking this? Just play the dang Broncos, Kelly.
Well, Kelly, you talk about the Broncos and the we. I stopped being a fan. Now you're talking to somebody who literally grew up just blocks away from the old Mile High Stadium as a kid, and the windows would rattle. You could tell when a big play was made because your house would shake, the whole stadium would shake, and it would permeate through the neighborhood. But I stopped being a fan when I reached the age of reason at probably like 10 years old, and I'm a fan of whoever I'm betting on. And for me, I don't have a stake in Survivor. I'm no good at Survivor. I think of 1 year I've made it all the way to Thanksgiving. That's as far as I've gone. I'm such an underdog player. It's so hard for me to shift my mind and shift my thinking. When the boards come out, the first thing I look at is the underdogs, and do I think the underdog has a chance to win? And I circle that, and that's where I start with the point spread and the number. So I think from this standpoint, just looking at scheduling for the Denver Broncos, I don't know when else you might take. And I don't want to try to steer anybody this way. This is just me and my thinking. So I'll just give my own catharsis here for myself and be therapeutic, since I'm long gone out of Survivor. But I don't know where else I would take the Broncos. They got back-to-back road games coming up against Baltimore and Kansas City, hosting Atlanta. They're hosting Cleveland. Cleveland maybe getting better now that you don't have Deshaun Watson anymore. Like, the schedule is going to be very challenging second part of the season for the Denver Broncos. But thinking about that game from this perspective of the Broncos laying 9.5 or 10, I actually would be inclined to lay the whole number as well. Not only from the standpoint that we know the Panthers are awful. You talked about it, Kelly. They're 1-6 against the number, but they have the worst point differential in the league, basically doubled the next split. They're minus 133 point differential. So not only are they not covering these games, they're getting they're not even showing up for these games. They're getting hammered in these games. You got Bryce Young coming back here. And I think that's the key for me, is that this Denver Broncos defense will create offense. They'll create short fields. I think we're going to see turnovers from that team and be able to make it easy for Bo Nix to kind of coast through this game. But from a Survivor standpoint here, Brady, whether it's Broncos, whether it's Lions, or even the Chiefs for that matter, although you probably would want to save them for the upcoming holidays, both Thanksgiving and Christmas that they're a part of. Where will you break down these games from a Survivor perspective?
Well, I think there's a lot you can glean from your comments, both you and Kelly. The Denver Broncos, is there another spot on the schedule where you're going to use them? Maybe, maybe not. The against the spread perspective, I'm with you. I'd probably lay it with Denver, let alone, on the money line. The Lions, we talked about this game earlier. That scheduling spot is so tough. Even though our disdain for the Titans is real, I'd probably have to play that side from an against the spread perspective. So, okay, let's eliminate the Lions. The Chargers, they're another team I think is interesting, because are you really going to find another spot to use them where they're going to be such a big favorite over a team that is so beleaguered by injury in the New Orleans Saints? I think they're attractive. As Survivor standpoint, I would probably have to whittle it down to the Chargers and the Broncos are probably the better of those two choices. The Chiefs, I'm probably saving them for the holidays. And if there's any team the Raiders are going to get up for, it is the Kansas City Chiefs. So for me, Kelly, Chargers and Broncos, the only negative I can think of about the Broncos is the fact that it's probably going to be the very most popular pick.
Yeah, that is absolutely the concern, right? As I mentioned, we were in the grouping with Philadelphia, and where we go, getting into halftime, and it's a blocked punt. And that was how we lost one of the entries. So we had each brought an entry to the table. So we had 2 entries remaining, and the Giants took out Seattle with a very similar blocked field goal just at the end of the game, not to end the first half. And boy, was that frustrating. And that was kind of giving me a little bit of flashbacks. Like, did I really want to be in the most popular pick? Look, part of me likes to zig when others zag. Maybe I just cheer for absolute utter chaos. Take a team that's kind of more under the radar, that also I'm not going to have an opportunity to use much later. So I have the Chargers at my disposal. Week 10, I have them slated as a 5-point favorite. The only other time I have the Broncos being slated to use would be a 2-point favorite over the Browns. And so that is the reality. But the other reality is we don't have to use the Broncos at all. You only have to use 20 teams in the Survivor contest, right? There are 2 double pick weeks, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and that's it. I'm in a lot of other Survivor contests where there's 4 or 5 double pick weeks. So you've got to play 24, 25, 26 teams. That's just not the case here. You can leave 12 teams off the table. Again, I really don't want to save the Lions for Thanksgiving after what happened last year. You would think the Cowboys would be able to handle the Giants, and you got to save one more. I do have the Packers at my disposal to use for Thanksgiving as well.
Yeah, I circled that when James and I, the contest show entry that we had with James and Mike and myself, I circled that Packer game for Thanksgiving as a key cog to have in your pocket, because there's nothing like playing at Lambeau when it's, 10 degrees out or worse. And it's probably going to be something like that. And oh, by the way, who is visiting them on Thanksgiving? The Miami Dolphins, a warm weather team going to Lambeau Field for Thanksgiving. I think that's definitely a team you probably want to have in your pocket. Yeah, I don't listen to James and I. We're no longer in this contest, but the Broncos seem to make the most sense. If I had to pick one in the weeds under the radar, the Chargers feel like a pretty decent play. And I think we'll probably see some people on the Chargers this week, thinking along those same lines, just staying away from what probably will be the most popular pick in the Denver Broncos. Okay, back to Against the Spread perspective when we return on the other side as we continue here on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Looking for your next ultimate golf experience? Discover Valley High Golf Club, a tropical paradise on the Las Vegas Strip, featuring lush greenery, water features, Balinese tropical plants, white sand, and black volcanic rock, creating an enchanting atmosphere. Valley High creates a memorable golf experience for a typical foursome, a group celebrating a bachelor or bachelorette party, or your next corporate outing. It's award-winning golf on the Strip, Vegas style. Book your ultimate golf experience now at valleyhighgolfclub.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. Brady Cannon, Kelly Stewart, and James Salinas with you as we continue the breakdown of Week 8 in the NFL. And Kelly, I want to get started with a game that we touched on a little bit in the last segment regarding Circa Survivor. An interesting game right here at Allegiant Stadium. The Las Vegas Raiders, they have been borderline dumpster fire as of late. Devontae Adams is gone. Max Crosby, we don't know if he is all in with Antonio Pierce. We just really don't know about the Las Vegas Raiders, but we do know that there's probably not another team that they get up for more than this week's opponent, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, you absolutely nailed it. This is a 2-5 Raiders team. They're minus 59 in points differential. Why on earth would I want to take the double digits with them? And that's because it's a play against the Chiefs. Look, this defense plays their butts off every single time they play against Kansas City. You mentioned Max Crosby, who is the leader on that side of the ball. But ultimately, we're looking at the Chiefs' schedule. They just beat up on a team they played in the Super Bowl on the road. Nice win for them. They go Monday night, Tampa Bay. Denver, who we just touched on, is 5-2 and kind of surprising some people in the AFC West. And then they go to Buffalo. I saw somebody tweet this earlier. Why on earth would the Chiefs care to go to Las Vegas to play the Raiders right now, more than the Raiders probably even want to play the Chiefs right now? I would like to think they're going to get up and they are going to absolutely have an opportunity here to take advantage of a Chiefs team we haven't seen anyone else really be able to, right? The Chiefs are 6-0 for the first time in Patrick Mahomes' era. I know that sounds crazy because it feels like they start off hot every single year. But, one thing I had to remind a Ravens fan of on Monday night was that they still haven't beaten Patrick Mahomes. And this might be the year for them to do it. 6 touchdown passes, 8 interceptions, right? He's number 23. His passer rating is 82.5. That is behind a guy named Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. So something to keep in mind there. This is a Chiefs team that could lose this game on their own, right? I don't know if the Raiders are going to beat them, but the Chiefs shoot themselves in the foot here. Patrick has a couple of interceptions. I would not be surprised to see the Raiders shock the world. As we mentioned in the contest, I'm looking at it right now. It is plus 8.5. We saw this one get as high as 10 early in the week. And I thought it was really interesting that Circa put out 8.5. Westgate has a 10. A lot of people are going to want to tease the Chiefs. How easy does it look at 8.5 to tease the Chiefs? Just bet them to win the game, essentially, right? I think this one comes down to a lot closer of a game than the line suggests. I think this reminds me of that same Browns game James touched on early in the season listen, you play against a big time divisional rival, you're going to get the most from that scrappy underdog. This is still the NFL. This is not college football.
Well, Kelly, I think for Mahomes here and the Chiefs, thinking about that Christmas game, they lost to the Raiders. That was the last time the Chiefs actually lost the football game, was at home on Christmas Day to these said Raiders. And the Raiders didn't do anything offensively. It was the defense, like you talked about, that gets up for this Chiefs team and really dominated that football game. They were talking a lot of crap in that game too. And a little fun jousting during the offseason with the whole Kermit the Frog and Mahomes action going into this. Maybe it motivates them, maybe not. I don't know. It's not really, to me, that's not a factor into this game. But I think for the Chiefs here, the front door is going to be open because Minshew is going to be the quarterback. And I think Minshew will find a way to give the football to the wrong side, which would be Spagnuolo and that Chiefs defense. That's why they've been winning these football games. They haven't been covering a lot of games, but they have been winning the games. And it's because of their defense that has been absolutely physical and dominant week in and week out. I think that's where they get ahead because of Minshew, and maybe the back door is still open because Minshew will take chances and opportunities to make plays down the field to cover that back door. So maybe on the other side with the SuperContest being at 10, that's a good number, Brady. Maybe that's a spot where we split our entry and we don't take them in both with the 8.5 and the Circa Millions, but the 10 at home with the Raiders in the SuperContest, maybe that's more likely for us to move into as we talk further through this game. But thinking about another game with the Cowpies coming back. And you know how much I love betting against the Dallas Cowboys. And we've done it a number of times this season, going to San Francisco and getting 4 points. And it's crazy enough to say that I kind of like I actually forget about I really like the Cowboys in the spot plus the number here. And couple reasons why. Thinking about where the 49ers are, it's just a beat up team. Up and down that roster, absolutely hammered by injuries. They need this bye week, which is coming up next week, and to try to lick their wounds, both offensively and defensively, even in special teams. We saw that play out. I had the under last week in that game. That was a big missed extra point. They got the young kid that got fired from Green Bay last year to come in, and he missed an extra point, which was big. So they're just really beat up on all three phases of the game. But I think for the Cowboys, if they were playing in Big D, I wouldn't want to play this side. But because they're away from it, they've been hearing plenty for the last 2 weeks how they got throttled by the Lions. Maybe there's got to be some competitive pride that shows up and be able to just rally and get away from all the noise at home, even though the noise follows them everywhere they go based on their owner and what their owner always has to say here. But Brady, can you get on board taking the Cowboys in this spot plus the 4 at SF?
Yeah, I can. You know, I grew up a 49er fan. I like to feel I have a pretty good pulse on this team, and we've either been on or against them a couple of times this year and been successful with it. And you mentioned that bye week coming up for San Francisco. I think that's a big deal. They know how banged up they are. Hufanga's out, Hargrave's out, Kittle's banged up, Ayuk's out for the season, Debo's coming off pneumonia, Christian McCaffrey's not going to play, Mason is banged up. I mean, it's really all over the place. They can't wait to get to that bye week. And speaking of bye week, we've talked about this a number of times. I love the handicapping angle when you take a team that is struggling mightily, like the Cowboys have been, going into their bye week. They need that pause. They need the time to reset. It was a perfect time for the bye to show up for the Dallas Cowboys. Now they get to come out on the other side, a big game that'll obviously have their attention and been against a team that has absolutely been their nemesis. I love what you're talking about as well, James, that they're away from home, away from the pressure of being in Dallas. So, yeah, I'm going to hold my nose again. Another ugly dog here. I think the Cowboys show up. I think they actually have a great chance to win this game outright, do the Dallas Cowboys. Kelly in Vegas. Kelly Stewart has got to leave. We thank you so much. Another commitment. She's a busy lady, as you know. Thank you so much for filling in for Mike today. It was wonderful to have you, Kelly, and best of luck with all your picks, including Circa Survivor.
Thank you so much, you guys. I always appreciate hanging out with like-minded people that love ugly dogs as much as I do. Good luck this weekend in both contests. Lord knows I need it.
Yeah, we're rooting for you, my friend. We'll be back to wrap it up. It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. We'll be right back.
When the football contest crew isn't busy dominating the field and making plays that leave opponents in the dust, they're doing something just as exciting. They're playing My Vegas Slots. It's a top-ranked, free-to-play mobile app that lets you earn valuable real-world rewards from amazing partners like MGM Grand, Bellagio, and Norwegian Cruise Line. You can score hotel stays, great meals, show tickets, and more just for playing. Download My Vegas Slots today from your favorite app store. And if you're anything like Brady, James, and Mike, we know you're going to love it. That's a winning play you won't want to miss.
Welcome back in, everybody. It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. Thanks again to Kelly Stewart for joining us, filling in for Mike Pritchard today. That was a ton of fun and very good insight in where she is sitting currently in Circa Survivor. Back to the against the spread perspective and our picks for Week 8 in the NFL. I will start with the Westgate SuperContest. We're going to go with the Cleveland Browns catching 9, taking on the Baltimore Ravens at home. The Jacksonville Jaguars, another home dog, getting 4 points. Another home dog in the New England Patriots getting 7, yet another home dog. In the Las Vegas Raiders getting double digits, 10 here at Allegiant Stadium. And then finally, we're going to grab the New York Giants on Monday night, getting 6.5 in the Westgate SuperContest. Now, for the Circa Sports Million, similar, but we switch up a couple. We're going to go with the Browns catching only 8.5. We still like that number. Jaguars getting 4. Patriots getting the same number of 7. But then we're going to go to the Seahawks catching 3 points, and then the Dallas Cowboys getting 4 at San Francisco. And then for our Dom DeMarco's Pizza Money prop play of the week, don't forget to check out Dom DeMarco's on Monday nights for all kinds of sports betting information there while the Monday night game is going on. The prop money play of the week, or the pizza money play of the week, I should say, is Kenneth Walker, the Seattle Seahawks running back. We are going to go over 65.5 rushing yards for Kenneth Walker. This prop bet has been the best thing we've been doing the last few weeks, as it has hit 2 weeks in a row. We think Walker will be able to take advantage, James, of that porous Buffalo Bills defense against the run.
Well, the run defense is really going to be in question for the Buffalo Bills. We know that Terrell Bernard, their best linebacker, is not going to play in this game. So he has already been ruled out. And I think the other piece, too, is just going to be the fatigue that I think will start to set in on the Buffalo Bills on that side of the football. We know the Seahawks can and will commit to rushing the football. You're not going to have, they're banged up at wide receiver, so you're not going to have that's going to be the route. I think for the Bills, the strength of that defense is that secondary by far. They are terrific in the secondary. But now with this team having played, this is going to be their 4th road game in 5 weeks. I think as the game continues on and as Seattle continues to commit to rushing the football with Kenneth Walker, who is a very ground and pound. He has the speed to get around the edge, but he also has the strength to run inside and run through you and lay contact and initiate contact at the running back position. I just think this is a really good spot for Seattle, not only at home as a home underdog plus the 3, but you mentioned with with Walker being able to get the amount of carries that he needs. I think that's going to be there for him in this matchup. And you mentioned one game that we're playing. We kind of split sides with this, with the Steelers and the Giants. I didn't have a super strong opinion here. I don't want to lay that big number with the Steelers coming off what they've been really big home win. Again, they've had just multiple games on Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday night, a lot of primetime games. This one, even though it's a primetime game at home, this one almost feels like a flat spot playing against the lonely Giants on Monday night, Brady.
Yeah, absolutely, James. I mean, a lot of the success we've seen for the Pittsburgh Steelers has been in the role of the underdog. They go into the role of road favorite against the Colts. They lose that game. And here they are with expectations again as a big favorite, certainly the biggest favorite I believe they've been all season. And for me, it's just about being a line being inflated here. It's really that simple. You've got the New York Giants coming off of a beatdown. They were just drubbed by the Philadelphia Eagles, the Saquon Barkley game, everything, all the pomp and circumstance around that contest. And then everything that went on with Mike Tomlin replacing Justin Fields with Russell Wilson, and everybody on Twitter crying, gosh, this guy's an idiot. And then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, he's a genius. And the Steelers go out there and whip the pants off the New York Jets. So you've got one team that looks like a world beater, and one team's world was beaten in. And I think that's caused, some skewing of the line here. I would say the Steelers probably should be a 4 or 4.5. I think this is probably out of whack by 1.5 or 2. And there's no better place for a really ugly dog to show up than under the bright lights of Monday night. So yeah, give me the Giants here plus the 6.5 in the SuperContest. We're going to stay away from them in Circa because it's down to 6 there. By the time they kick off, I wouldn't be surprised if it's lower than 6 points as far as the Giants in the underdog role. That is going to do it for another edition of the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circa Sports and the Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. For James, I am Brady. Have a great weekend, everybody. Cash some tickets, and we'll see you again next week with Mike Pritchard back in the saddle for week number 9.
Thanks for tuning in to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Don't you just love football? God, what a fun sport.
Subscribe today on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts to receive weekly alerts as soon as the show's available. Good luck with your contest selections.
Pay that man his money.
And we'll talk to you next week.